Well, can you see the Word file and can you see me as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So we'll go to the next topic. See, in our last lecture, we have said how Shahu has came out victorious in the civil war between Shahu on the one side and Tarabai on the other side. Now, what happened is, for the Mughal, they have ruled over India for a very long period, and somehow they have presumed that the whole India is their territory, and anybody who is not able to acknowledge their sovereignty is rebel, and that is how they considered Shivaji and Marathas later on as rebel. And this kind of psyche seems to have also percolated down to the masses in general, who considered that the Mughals are the supreme lord of India. Now, during the phase of the Maratha War of Independence, the Marathas fought against the Mughals. Many of the Marathas, however, they also joined the Mughal service. And at the end of this Maratha War of Independence, we know that the house of the Marathas were divided into two groups. On the one side, Shahu, on the other side, Tarabai. And there was a kind of competition between these two, not only to attract as many Marathas to add their in their service, but at the same time, somehow with diplomatic effort to strengthen their position and to get acknowledged as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas. Now, in order to bring legitimacy, or in order to strengthen the position, in order to not to antagonize too many people at a time, Shahu has adopted the policy of reconciliation. We know that we have studied this already in the last lecture, that when he was released from the Mughal custody, he went to Khundabad, where there is a grave, the grave of Aurangzeb, and he visited that grave of Aurangzeb. He paid his obedience, and this had kind of reduced the antagonism between the Marathas and the Mughal nobility. Now, the next stage is that Shahu also wanted that he should be acknowledged as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas from the side of the Mughal emperor. And it is believed that Shahu, when he had spent very long period in the custody of Aurangzeb, Aurangzeb made him to promise that he will never, harm the Mughal empire. So even though the Marathas and the Mughal, they had a long enmity, but as it is said, there is no permanent friend and permanent enemy in politics. Depending on the circumstances, they became friendly. Depending on the circumstances and interests, they became enemy. Now here, to bring legitimacy to their rule during this phase of the conflict between Shah and Tarabai, Tarabai's people like Tarabai, she sent her representative to the Mughal authority, as well as Shah also sends his representative to Mughal authority to get an acknowledgement as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas. And finally, it is Shah who succeed in getting an acknowledgement from the Mughal emperor as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas, and that legitimacy is brought by the farman, brought by the imperial letter called sanad. Now sanad is an imperial letter, imperial sanction, which gives certain sanction, certain authority to somebody. So we will be talking about sanad and what is the importance of this sanad, what were the circumstances that led to the granting of this sanad to Shahu. We will be talking about Sayyid brother, who played a very important role in granting of this sanad. How the Maratha forces went to Delhi along with Sayyid brother. How there was a conflict between the supporter of the emperor and the supporter of the Sayyid brother. Marathas were of course supporting Sayyid brother, and after that there is an acquisition of sanad on the name of Shahu, and then Balaji Vishwanath, who is an important person who was Peshwa. He comes back to Satara. So Sanad is a royal letter of grant, and in this case, the royal letter issued by the Mughal emperor to the Marathas in 1719 that we'll be referring to. And why it is important, that I have already told you, as the Mughal rule, Mughal authority became sacrosanct, accepted authority, acquiring and later from them has strengthened the position of Shahu as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas and Southern part. Now, let us talk about the circumstances in which the Marathas has acquired this Sanat. See, what happened is, after the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal emperor who sat on the throne of Delhi, they are generally known as latter Mughal, and they could never give a very stable rule to India. There was a gradual disintegration of the Mughal empire. We know that. Now, what happened is, during this period of chaos after 1712, generally, there was a contest for the throne who will become the emperor, and Farooq Seer becomes the emperor, and he is supported by the two very influential, very capable brothers known as Sayyid brothers. The elder is Abdullah and the younger is Hussein Ali. So these two brothers, they support Farooq Seer in 1713, and in 1713 Farooq Seer becomes an emperor. Now, though Farooq Seer became an emperor with the help of this Sayyid brother, he was quite afraid of their growing power. And Abdullah and Hussein Ali, on their part also, were they had their own interests of exercising the power. They wanted to control the authority. And Farooq Seer was quite a person who was given to conspiracies and intrigues. So he indulged in intrigues and conspiracies against his own ministers who supported him to become the ruler. Now, in order to weaken the Sayyid brothers' hold over Delhi, in order to weaken them, what he has done is in 1715 he appointed Hussein Ali, the younger brother who was believed to be more industrious, more capable, as a Subedar of Deccan, and he dispatched him to Deccan. Now, this Hussein Ali, who was very reluctant to leave his elder brother alone at Delhi, because he was knowing that there is a lot of conspiracy going on, and it is none other than the Emperor Farooq Seer, who is in fact one of the conspirators. And he wants Farooq Seer before leaving to southern part of India. He says, if any harm comes to my brother, remember that I'm not going to spare you. So you can understand that what was the condition of the emperor. You know, emperor is afraid of his own nobility, and nobility they are trying to make the emperor as a puppet in their own hand. But nevertheless, Hussein Ali, he goes to south, and Hussein Ali, to begin with, he was against the Marathas. He considered Maratha as a kind of rebellious people, and they need to be stamped out. And he worked hard for next 2 years to control the Marathas. But then, before he could control the Marathas, the political situation in Delhi has become more vicious. Farooq Seer, who was indulging one after another conspiracy, and even now the life of Sayyid Abdullah, the elder brother of Hussein Ali, who was in Delhi, itself was threatened. Farooq Seer has gathered the people around him who were opposed to this two Sayyid brother, and now Abdullah, he sends an emergency letter to his younger brother and says him ki, you this is the situation that is developing in Delhi, and there is a threat to my life. It's better if you can come to Delhi with the army so that our position becomes strong. Now, on the one side, this Hussein Ali, he was trying to suppress the Marathas for 2 years. And on the other side, there was a threat to the life of his brother as well as to his own life, his own position in Delhi. So at a time, it's never a wise decision. No wise politician will fight against two enemies at a time. So he thought, 2 years in any case, I could not suppress the Marathas. Now, if I continue to fight against the Marathas, and if I continue to fight against my enemies at Delhi, probably I'll be in a big trouble. And on the other side, Farooq Seer himself wrote to Shahu that you should oppose Sayyid, this Hussein Ali. So you see the kind of political situation that was developing. And Hussein Ali, he thought, if my own emperor is conspiring against me with the Marathas, against whom I am fighting on the behalf of the emperor, why not to make friendship with the Marathas and use them against the emperor? So he plays that trick. And one of the important person who played a very key role in bringing the Marathas and Hussein Ali together is Shankarji Mallar. Shankarji Mallar was a very old politician. In fact, he has served Rajaram. When Rajaram escaped from Maharashtra to Delhi in Maharashtra to Genji in 1689, it was Shankarji Mallar who was in service of Rajaram, but he developed certain depressions, and later on he retired to Banaras, spending his life in the religious pursuit. But Farooq Seer, the emperor, he understood the talent of this person, and he persuaded him to take service in the Mughal administration. Shankarji Mallar was brought to Delhi and he was sent with Hussain Ali to southern part of India because he himself was from Maharashtra and he was quite aware of the political situation as well as the geographical situation in southern India. And this Shankarji Mallar, by his loyalty, by his wisdom, by his being very industrious, became a very trusted key person in the administration of Hussain Ali. So Hussain Ali sent Shankarji Mallar to Shahu, and Shankarji Mallar goes and have meeting with Shahu, and he explained the position. How extending as Hussain Ali is extending the hands of friendship to the Marathas should grab the hand and become friends with Hussain Ali. The condition in Delhi is not good because Shahu had promised to Aurangzeb that I will never do anything that will harm the Mughal Empire. Shankarji Mallar convinces to Shahu that Hussain Ali is not against the emperor, but emperor himself is indulging in conspiracy, and Hussain Ali is doing all this thing only to protect his life, the life of his brother, and he is doing to protect the emperor. So it is always better that if you join hands with Hussain Ali, you are not doing harm to the Mughal Empire, but you are serving the Mughal Empire. At the same time, you will be providing lot of avenues to the Marathas to expand in all directions, especially in the northern direction. Because now, after the civil war, after the war against the Mughal were over, the Marathas were expanding, spending their energy in the civil war. They were fighting against each other. They were shifting their loyalty, sometimes becoming loyal to Shahu, sometimes becoming loyal to the Bhosla ruling house at Kolhapur. You know, the Bhosla ruling house was now divided. The descendant of Rajaram, that is Tarabai, she was ruling from Kolhapur first, but then later on she was arrested. Rajaram's other wife, Sakwar Bai, and her son Sambhaji, they acquired the power. Sambhaji became Chhatrapati at Kolhapur, and Shahu remained at Satara. So they were cousin ruling from two different places. Shahu ruling from Satara and Sambhaji ruling from Kolhapur. If you remember, it was this Sambhaji II, who has ordered Ramchandra Panta Amatya to write his Ajna Patre. And it was on the instruction of this Sambhaji of Kolhapur that Ramchandra Panta has written Ajna Patra, which we have studied in the first semester, which is a very important source of the Maratha administration. Now, it's because of this diplomacy of Shankarji Mallar, the Marathas, that is led by Shahu and Hussain Ali, they came together, and Shahu was also desiring that his mother Esubai, who is in the custody of Mughal at Delhi, similarly his wife Savitri Bai and brother Madan Singh, they all were, confined to Delhi by the Mughal. They were in the Aurangzeb's custody earlier, and after the death of Aurangzeb, they were taken at Delhi. If you remember in last lecture, it was only Shahu who could escape from the place near Bhopal, and these people, other people, Yesubai and his wife Savitri Bai and his half brother Madan Singh, they all were taken to Delhi, and they were staying in Delhi as a prisoner, virtual prisoner, with some of the attendants. So Shahu was also interested that all these people should be released, and then there was a negotiation, and finally the agreement was signed between between Shahu and Sayyid Hussain in 1717, and in that the term of the agreement says that Shivaji's original domain, which is referred to as Swarajya. So this domain, which was at the time of Shivaji's death, should be handed over to Shahu with the possession of all the forts. The territories that is later on acquired by the Marathas in Khandesh, Berar, Gondwana, Hyderabad, Karnataka should be also ceded to the Marathas. The Marathas should be allowed to collect Chauth and Sardeshmukhi from the 6 subas of Deccan. Now, Chauth is a 1/4 tax. Chauth, you can understand the fourth portion, 1/4 of the tax of the agriculture produce, and the Sardeshmukhi is a 1/10 of the tax that is additional apart from Chauth. So these two taxes Marathas should be allowed to collect from the 6 subas of Deccan, that is subas of Mughal. And in return of this Chauth, the Marathas, they will serve the Mughal emperor with 15,000 troops. And in return of Sardeshmukhi, they will maintain order in the territory. On the other side, Sambhaji of Kolhapur was also approaching the Mughal governors, they wanted that the Sambhaji who has approached them should not be also harmed. So this clause was also put that Shahu will not harm Sambhaji of Kolhapur. And in return of all these privileges, Chauth, Sardeshmukhi, handing over of Swaraj, handing over of other territory, the what Marathas will do apart from serving the emperor with 15,000 troops, the Marathas will also pay the cash payment of 10 lakh rupees annually to the emperor as a tribe, as a tribute. And the emperor should also release Esubai, Savitri Bai, that is Shahu's wife, and Madan Singh with all the followers detained with them. Now, Syed Hussein, he agreed that okay, fine, and now I have to go to Delhi to protect my brother. The Marathas troop will accompany me; they will support me, and I ensure that I will get all this sanctioned by the emperor, because Hussein Ali himself cannot sanction this. He was not an emperor, but he was an influential. He considered himself as a power behind the throne, so he enters into the agreement. But of course, when he communicated with the emperor did not approve of all this term, and on the other hand, he sends his own people to southern. But Hussein Ali, he detain all those officers sent by the emperor, and even before the formal agreement is approved by the emperor, the Marathas, they started occupying all that territory that is promised by Hussein Ali. That is Swarajya, the land which was under the possession of Chhatrapati Shivaji at the time of his death, and they also started collecting chauth. They stopped paying anything to the. They asked, all those area. They asked the people not to pay anything to the Mughal governor, but pay chauth, that is 1/4 of revenue, and Sardeshmukhi, that is 1/10 of the revenue to the Marathas. And they started raising the army was prepared. And when all this event was taking place in 1715 itself, Shahu has sent his wakil Parasnis Yadav Rao Prabhu to Delhi, and from Delhi, this wakil, the representative of Shahu, he was constantly trying to get the release of Esubai and other prisoners from the custody of the Mughal emperor. He was trying to convince to the convince to Sayyid brother, that is elder brother, who was at Delhi, so that the Maratha prisoners should be released. Well, now here, when Sayyid brother, that is Hussein Ali, was gathering his forces and making friendship with the Marathas, the emperor was also did not sit quiet. But he called all those Mughal to Delhi with their forces, so that they can stand against Sayyid brother, that is Sayyid Abdullah, who was at Delhi. And now, as the Mughal nobility who were in support of the emperor, as they started gathering at Delhi with the forces, Sayyid Abdullah, he sent an emergency message to his brother Sayyid Hussein and asked him that you should, without any delay, march to Delhi. Now, the forces were already ready. Hussein Ali, he understood what is going to come, and he was ready. The Maratha 15,000 army, with that 15,000 army and with his own army, they started marching towards Delhi, and they were accompanied by significant Maratha forces. And there were Maratha nobility like Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath. He was accompanied by his young son Bajirao Peshwa, who later on becomes Peshwa. And this was a good training for Bajirao, as he accompanies his father to Delhi and sees the situation, how the political situation is rotten, and it is the right time that we should give blow to the Mughal Empire. And that was a latter thought. But the first, what happened during this 17, 18, and 19 is that setting of the situation of Delhi, which had proved very useful for the Bajirao during his latter political expeditions. Now, Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath, with other general like Khanderao Dabade, Ranoji and Santaji Bhosle, who later on became, whose son later on became ruler of Nagpur, and the Pawar, they all went to Delhi, and they reached Delhi in February 1719. And now here, emperor was quite alarmed when the Maratha army accompanying Hussein Ali was reaching near the vicinity of Delhi. The emperor was quite alarmed, and he sent a letter of expedition to Hussein Ali. Said, "Ki, you stop these Marathas. Don't let them enter Delhi." And Hussein Ali says to Marathas, "Okay, fine. Now the emperor is willing to bow down. You stop here, otherwise you go back." But now the Marathas were no longer willing to stop or go back. They said, "Ki, now we will not go back unless we get what we have promised. That is the sanction letter of Chauth, Sardeshmukhi, sanction letter for Swarajya, and we also want all those prisoners like Esubai, Shah's wife, and Shah's half brother should be released." Hussein Ali, he writes back to Emperor, Ki, I cannot now antagonize the Marathas. If I try to stop them, they will create a lot of trouble all over Delhi. So it's better let us agree to their demand. And all that negotiation was going on. Sayyid brother reaches Delhi along with the Marathas. both the brothers had a meeting, and now later on they also had meeting in the with the emperor. Now there is a lot of tension. The troops that is supporter of the Sayyid brothers, they were stationed near Delhi, in Delhi, somewhere in the vicinity of Delhi. The supporter of the emperor, they were also stationed around vicinity of Delhi, and a lot of tension was there. The Sayyid brother, they had meeting with the emperor, and even some of the supporter of the emperor, they turned towards Sayyid brother. Now they understood that Farooq Siyari is not an emperor who can be trusted. He is always indulging in one conspiracy or another. So during that meeting between the Sayyid brother, there was a ruler of Jodhpur, Ajit Singh, and the emperor. There was an exchange of hot words, and finally Sayyid brother decided that. Now is the time that we should replace the king. King is probably going to planning to do a lot of harm to us, and we should replace him. So what they have done is they have surrounded the king's palace, and they put their own guard. Now, the king's supporters who were there outside that palace in the vicinity of Delhi, surrounding Delhi, they wanted to rescue the king from the imprisonment of Sayyid brother. So they marched towards a palace, and when they forcibly tried to attack the palace, in fact, the guards that were put by Sayyid Ali were Marathas. There was a clashes between the supporter of the emperor on the one side and the supporter of Sayyid Ali, that is mostly Marathas, from the other side. And during that clashes, nearly 1,500 to 2,000 Marathas, they lose their life. And it included Santaji Bhosle of Nagpur. Two brothers went. One of the brother dies there. It also included Balaji Panta Bhanu, who was grandfather of very famous Nana Fadnavis. Nana Fadnavis becomes very famous in the Maratha history later on, but his grandfather dies in Delhi in 1790. Now, during this clashes, the Sayyid brother they comes out successful, and Farooq Sir was arrested, and he was after 2 months he was put to death. Now, Farooq Sir was removed from the throne, and in between, two Shahzadas, two princes from the Mughal house of Aurangzeb, were put on the throne one after another. But they did not live long; they died one after another, and lastly, it was Muhammad Shah who became the ruler, and he continues to rule up to 1748. So, as now the emperor was removed, whole power was in the hands of Sayyid brother. Rajput king Ajit Singh and Savai Jai Singh, they also supported Sayyid brother, and they also supported the claim of the Marathas to Chaudh, Sardesh Mukhi, as well as the release of the prisoner. So as the now Marathas, Sayyid brother became supreme. They were under obligation to fulfill their commitment to the Marathas. So all those Esubai and all other prisoners, they were released and handed over to Balaji Vishwanath, and now the sanad was granted. Now, in case of the granting of the sanad, that original sanad is nowhere found. This book is written by James Randolph, one of the British historian, and this is a very old book. He had he writes about the summary of the sanad. He mentions that this sanad is in the possession of the king of Satara, but later historian nobody has found this sanad. It might have lost. And according to the description given by Grandeur, the sanad, whatever the clauses were there in the agreement that is signed between the Hussein Ali and the Marathas, like granting of Swarajya, Chaudh, Sardesh Mukhi, etc., all that was not granted at a one time at Delhi. But there are different farmans. First, they grant Chauthai, then they grant Sardesh Mukhi, then they grant Swarajya. So there are different documents which are mentioned by Grandam. But nevertheless, Marathas have finally got what they wanted. That is, they got right to collect Chauth, that is one-fourth of the whole revenue of the six subas of Deccan. They got Sardesh Mukhi, that is 10% over Chauth. They got Swarajya, all that territory which was under the possession of Shivaji. They also got all those districts which were promised by Aurangzeb to Shahu at the time of his marriage. Sorry. So Shahu got married during the when he was in the Mughal camp, and during that time of the marriage, Aurangzeb had promised that I will give you some districts. All those districts were also handed over to Shahu, and Balaji Vishwanath with all those sanad, and with all those prisoners, he comes back to Satara, and he receives very grand welcome by Shahu. Yesubai stays alive for 12 years and then she dies. Well, now what were the importance of Sanad and this Maratha expedition to Delhi? Because of this Sanad, now Shah's rule is legitimized. You became acknowledged ruler of the Marathas from the side of the Mughal emperor. Uh, this has put check on the ruler of Kolhapur. Earlier, there was a contest. Kolhapur House used to claim themselves to be the real ruler of the Marathas. They used to indulge in conspiracies and fight. They continue to do so, but nevertheless, this acknowledgement from the side of the Mughal emperor is strengthened the position of Shahu as the legitimate ruler of the Marathas. Now, as the Marathas who had seen the Delhi, Peshwa Bajirao and other, that how there is a rotten political situation in Delhi, this has become an advantage while they plan the further expeditions and expansion of the Maratha Empire in the north after this event under the leadership of Bajirao Peshwa. Now, but by accepting this sanat from Mughal, Shahu has done away with the policy of complete independence of Chhatrapati Shivaji and Sambhaji and Rajaram. All these people, they have maintained themselves as a completely independent ruler. But Shahu had made a technical compromise because historians believe that had he tried to be as completely independent as like Chhatrapati Shivaji, probably he would have not successful because there was house was divided first thing. There is a Kolhapur house, there is a Satara house, and if he takes on the might of the Mughal Empire, probably he might end up losing whatever he could have. So it was just a kind of tactical understanding, and we find that later on, the Mughal emperor, who was virtually, technically speaking, the overlord of the Marathas, has to request them for the support and protection. So it was a quite complex, very intricate, very intriguing kind of political situation that was developing. And depending on the situation, it was in the interest of the Shahu, interest of Shahu, that he should accept his subordinate position as vessel of the Mughal king, but continue to rule as an independent king in practice. So this is what about the Sanad, the importance. What is Sanad? What is the importance? What were the circumstances? Sayyid Ali, politics of Delhi, march of the Marathas, who accompanied the army, the conflict at Delhi, death of near about 15,000 to 1500 to 2,000 troops. The Farooq Sir was disposed. Another ruler was put on the throne, and the Marathas, they claim to have got Sanad, but practically Sanad has been not found. There is an analysis of the Sanad, summary of the Sanad given by Grand Duff, which says that the grant has came into the phases. Nevertheless, according to the historical account, by after taking Sanad, after release, along with the released prisoner Balaji Vishwanath, he comes back to Satara, and he exchanged. He is given grand welcome, and the importance of this Sanad and the expedition to north is that the Marathas became aware of the weakness of the Mughal Empire. Shah's position is become more legitimized. So that is where this second topic ends. It did not add a lot of content.